Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Namaste Village. It is Monday, and we have overcome. It is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and Scott was just singing and chanting with us, and the knowledge and the experience that no matter what it looks like, no matter what, this is true. We have overcome. And as we were just saying, the experience of that may lag sometimes behind the knowledge, but when we fully realize that it is true now that only love is real, isn't that really the foundation of everything we teach here? Only love is real. And when people ask, well, what do you talk about? What do you believe? What do you do? Well, that's it. Everything else just springs from that, doesn't it? And if that is the foundation, only love is real, then we realize that there's no change that needs to occur. In fact, there's nothing that we need to do. We just need to simply be in that experience that we have overcome. And that's very difficult sometimes when we look out at a world where that does not seem to be true at all, where we can find all sorts of evidence to deny that it's done, it's over, you won. You are whole, you are enlightened right now. So I want to begin by reading a little story. I came across this on my computer last night. I don't remember when I wrote it, but it just sort of popped on my screen and it felt appropriate for today. So, a student came to the master and asked her, "What must I do to be enlightened? What must I do to be enlightened?" Let's just stop there for a moment. We're really focused on doing, aren't we? There's so much that we have to do. In fact, the doing never really seems to end. What about it already being done? Does that ever sink in? Does that ever crack open those walls that seem to separate us from the holy, full completion of grace within us now that is already done? No, we're still focused on what do we have to do, and that's why the student is asking the master, that teacher. So once again, a student came to the master and asked, "What must I do to become enlightened?" And she said, "What did you need to do to be born? Was there any effort or doing on your part?" I guess not. No, there was nothing I had to do. It just happened. But isn't becoming enlightened different? There must be something I have to do, or release, or let go of, or surrender. You see how the mind then just spins off on all those other things. Something that has to change, perhaps. The only thing that has to change is the idea that something has to change, she said. Once again, this is the key. The only thing that has to change is the idea that something has to change. This is because you still believe that something changed when you were created in the mind of God, that something changed. And you believe that you've gathered enough evidence to prove your belief, to prove that you were right about that you changed. You're not as you were created. That is very deep in all of our minds. In fact, that is the foundation of the perceptual mind. Something changed. The only difference between you and me is that I give no value to the so-called evidence of change. but I give total value to the changeless. I give total value to the changeless. So there's nothing I must do to be as you, the student asked. It is an undoing, not a doing, an undoing. Hold still and allow yourself to be done, which is really the same as being undone. Then you will realize that you've always been the same. You've always been whole. You've always been perfect. Nothing ever really changed. Until then, you'll imagine a difference between the student and the teacher, the man and the woman, and everyone else that you perceive. You'll see differences everywhere. When you realize, and here it is, that the will of God is forever whole. The will of God is forever whole. You'll stop imagining yourself outside of that wholeness. Whoa. The will of God is forever whole, and the experience that we describe here every day is simply to no longer imagine yourself as being outside that wholeness. Then you'll be awake. See, that's the key. It's nothing changes when you're asleep, right? When you go to sleep at night, do you change? Are you a different reality? And when you wake up and everything is different, aren't you in the same bed? Aren't you going to do the same thing? You get up every morning, get up, brush your teeth, and have breakfast. Of course. A lot seems to change when you're sound asleep. You inhabit worlds and have relationships that seem very real. Sometimes they're beautiful, sometimes they can even be traumatic. But does that make any of them true? And the answer is no. Nothing has changed. This is exactly the teaching. You've fallen asleep. You've decided to live within an egoic, impossible dream of separation. But that doesn't mean that there's anything lacking in you. It doesn't mean anything changed. So we are called here to live in the changeless, the wholeness, the truth. Is that hard? No. It isn't hard at all. It may take some practice. And the only reason that's true is because we've invested so much into this dream. We've taken so seriously all of these changing forms and all of these ideas and everything. But we come together here, whether we're here on Zoom, whether we're here at Namaste Village, or wherever we are, wherever we're joining, we come here simply to reinforce the fact that we have overcome, to reinforce the experience of it already happened. Sometimes we have to play out the clock, though, don't we, Robbie? We have to play out the clock. It's like a football game. Now, a lot of people are watching football these days because the playoffs are going on. So imagine a game where your team, whatever team that may be, is up by, let's say, 30 points. And there's 2 minutes left. Guess what? The game's over. The game's over. There's no way of coming back with that kind of deficit. You still have to play out the clock. You still have to snap the ball and run around the field and tackle each other, do whatever you need to do for that last 2 minutes. But the game's over. You won. Yeah. You won. We won this. You are whole now and forever. You've overcome all of those ideas of separation, all of those symptoms of disbelief. We're playing out the clock, but we're doing it together. We're playing out the clock in a situation, in a place, in a reality where we can amplify the joy, not the sorrow. Let go of the concern of what if. Maybe just turn that what if. What if what I'm saying right now is true? Think about that for a moment. What if this is really the truth? That you are whole, that you are perfect, that you are complete right here, right now. There's nothing that you need to do. Let go of that idea. Did you have to do anything to be born? No, you were just born. So this is what freedom is all about. And as we remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that's all we're really focusing on is freedom now. Claim it. That's all King was saying. Claim it now. It's the only time you can claim it. You can't claim it yesterday or tomorrow. It has to be claimed now, because now is the only moment there is. Let's take a deep breath together. See if you can touch that now. Where is it within you now? As we play out the clock together, and just let that joy build, because we realize we have won. We won. Feel that within you now. Game's over. Nothing real has ever been compromised. Nothing true has ever diminished. You are whole forever and forever. Amen. How does that feel? Doesn't that feel good? If it doesn't feel good, go back to bed, wake up again, and start all over. Try again. It should feel really good. It'll feel really good when you don't only get it here, but you let it sink in and go, oh my God. This shit we talk about every day is true. Now, I don't know if Vicki is here this morning or not. Vicki is with her family, and she's really just holding space for some family issues, but she thought she might be able to get here. Vicki, are you with us? Okay. So in that case, I'm going to invite Alden and Darla now, in this moment, to take this to the next level. Oh, we're all saying the exact same thing every single day, aren't we? When you really think about it, every single day we're saying the same thing, whether it's Alden and Darla or Vicki or Calico or whoever. It's the same lesson. It's happening now. So I'm going to invite the two of them up, and they can give us a little bit of that now in a different form, but it's the same thing. So come on up, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Ooh. Let's just stay there, eh? Morning, Zoom friends. Love you. Oh, yes, Vicki is with 15 surgeons and 2 neurosurgeons, and her grandchildren and her daughter-in-law and son. So, boy, we send blessings, huh? Peace and healing grace to the whole family. So please keep her and her family in your minds and hearts today. I thank you for that. So I'm still with what James offered, as we all are. And I'll go with what's coming to mind, right? That's that resting in God and that stillness James spoke of, and just recognizing we've arrived. We're in God. So what came to my mind as he offered that quiet moment was what I'll offer you now. God is with me. I live and move in him. God is with me. He is my source of life, the life within, the air I breathe, the food by which I am sustained, the water which renews and cleanses me. He is my home wherein I live and move. How still is he who knows the truth of what we speak today. Father, there are no words except your name upon our lips and in our hearts as we come quietly into your presence now and ask to rest with you in peace a while. Thank you all so much. Wow. Thank you for being the light of the world. I'm really grateful. Welcome to our new guests that are here. Lovely smiling faces. Tara, my heart over there. Okay, thank you so much, James. That was very powerful, the only reminder really that we all need each day. And that's why we come together, right? And do this every day to remind ourselves of what already is. Wow. I'm so grateful that we're no longer afraid. You know, we're not afraid to be in devotion, worship right in front of each other. And right, that's just me I'm looking at. And just flowing with where we are in every moment. We're in God, we're in that space James spoke about, because we're directed now. We trust the direction, right? So where else would we be? We're just, when it's that simple step of just trusting that we're guided all the time. It was very beautiful to share with James yesterday at the Anglican Church. And it just doesn't, it doesn't matter where we are. We're being guided by Spirit to be exactly where we are. I'm reading a book right now I'm really enjoying, and I was looking for Yogananda little books and that I got on my Kindle, and Amrit, how do you say it? Ananda Mai Ma. The Eastern stuff is, different for me. Wow, her face popped up as I was looking at Yogananda, looking up, her face just popped up. And okay, so then I went back one and I pushed the book that face came up from, and I'm reading that right now. And it is so beautiful. And it's just that reminder that she would go just like that. And actually this morning I was thinking of James, when we're prompted, see ya, I gotta go do this. I gotta go to feed the homeless for a moment, or I've got, and she did that. And many masters do. They hear that prompting, and devotees can follow them or not, but they're gone, to do whatever that is. And sometimes even her very faithful husband who supported her in every way. I remember just one thing's coming to mind where he said, try to cap it down there, because they were in a new venue of devotees or something. It was an unusual venue. And he's going, hold back, because she would do all kinds of things, jump around, float, just go into Kriya yoga, or how do you say it? Kriya yoga. See how educated I am in the Eastern stuff. And but it was beautiful though, where I am now in the book, she was a long time with this particular sector of India. And then she just got up and left and just walked off, said, whoever wants to come with me. She was just prompted. And then she traveled for, I don't know how long. She just kept traveling to different parts of India because that was her guidance, and just staying in caves. And she was so enlightened, she could sit in a cave, somebody found her in a damp, cold cave, and she was perfectly content. And her name means bliss permeated mother. Bliss permeated mother. Yeah, beautiful. So anyway, guidance. We do what we're told, and wow, how can we live in grace. We live in grace, bottom line. And you can live in grace all the time. And then the rarity becomes those moments when you find yourself out of grace, right? And you don't want to be there. That's uncomfortable. You're not at peace, and you just shift, right? That shift is easy then, because you go, oh, okay, that don't feel good. No, I want to be in grace. That's our inheritance. That's a gift given us. We can live in grace. And I'm grateful for that. I'll read you this little idea that I was looking at this morning in light of what James offered us, to remember who we truly are and not get distracted by behavior, by mistakes we've made. There's only here and now, right? And this is just, look, I love the way this is said. Make not the mistake of estimating the soul's worth, right? You're a living soul, your spirit and your soul is what's growing and expanding. So don't worry about the rest. Make not the mistake of estimating the soul's worth by the imperfections of the mind or by the appetites of the body. Judge not the soul, nor evaluate its destiny by the standard of a single unfortunate human episode. Right? Can you imagine getting caught up in one episode that holds you back? Your spiritual destiny is conditioned only by your spiritual longings and purposes. Right? That's all we need to remember. That's what James was saying this morning. Remember who you are, and all is well. Let God lead. Be in grace. It's a choice. You can be home now. Right? What are we waiting for? Your spiritual destiny is conditioned only by your spiritual longings and purposes. It's not your behavior, not your brother's behavior, not your circumstances. And the stillness James spoke about, I'll end on this note and give it over to my beloved. The most audible time I heard God speaking to me was when I was used up the church thing. Wasn't a bar hopper. I checked out different churches and bar hopping or church hopping. And but then I'd go, this ain't it, this ain't it. I know. And I was always asking for more. I was just always asking for more of Jesus. And I talked to him since a very early age and felt that connection. And when I knew I was done with the churches, the final church, where I was actually learning, I was so Bible seeped. I kept getting more revealed through the Bible, but it had to be revealed to me. Like the last church I went to I was learning, we had an underground group called the Manifested Sons of God, and it was also called the Sonship Teaching. And anyway, but we had this underground little group at this church, and we were learning, I was learning, the carnal mind is the problem. There is no devil. The carnal mind is the problem. It's right there in the Bible. There is no death. That's an illusion. You're not a body. I was learning all these truths in the Bible. And then we got caught learning that stuff down in the basement. And they said, that's gone. And you're either jumping in all the way here with the whole theology, what we have going on here in born again church, or, leave. And I left. I knew to leave. So I remember going out in the forest behind my house and just going, oh, Jesus, help me, and God, what do I do now? And what do I do now? And I'm surprised I could hear anything. I was that panicked about it. And I heard audibly, it had to be loud, be still and know that I am God. And it was such an awakening. I went, okay, okay. And I really did rest in that next and allowed him to lead. I didn't go anywhere, do anything till he led me to the next step. And it was that profound. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's that stillness that James spoke of too. We have to choose that stillness, right? Where we really abide and where God is. And so I'm grateful for being yelled at by the Spirit of God, because took me to my core in a good way. And I went, oh, yeah, I don't have to work at this. Yeah. So I'm very grateful that you've had very similar experiences and that you're all my perfect reflections. Jerry, I love you. Thank you. I love you all so much. Thank you, James, for this holy provision. Whew, this place. This is a holy spot. And I thank you all for hearing the call, landing here with me. Thank you. Beloved Alden.
Thank you, Darla. That's beautiful. And thank you, James. It is a truly wonderful thing to be here and to be able to share this kind of enlightenment with a larger group than just myself or with just Darla and I. It's a great thing to be able to talk about spiritual things and have somebody say yes and or whatever it is, but basically yes, instead of, well, I'm not so sure about that. There's nothing like that reflection. To be able to have that is truly of the greatest value. And as James was saying, we're all looking for enlightenment, and what is that? And I have two friends in Wisconsin, and they both had a similar thing happen last week. One was driving down to Florida, and he totaled his car. And that's not going to be a big deal to him. He's a mechanic. He buys and sells cars all the time. But my other friend was a delivery driver, and she totaled her car in the winter weather, I imagine. And she said, this is going to change my life. I'm not going to do the things I was doing before. Something big has happened. And that's all being enlightened is. Suddenly you're in communication, and the things that happen to you in your life are milestones, even if they're a little thing or a big thing. Everything is God communicating to you that perhaps there's a new thing for you to do, or a new path in your life to take, like Darla was talking about. Like shortly after she had that be still and know that I am God, A Course in Miracles showed up in her life. After a number of churches she checked out, and she said, that's it, I'm lost. Where do I go from here? And that's all that enlightenment is. Suddenly you're back in communication instead of leading a separate life with not knowing what you're supposed to do, or everybody's a stranger, everybody's competing for limited resources, and a world of live or die, and everybody's competing for small amounts of goods. Suddenly you're in communication and you've risen above it. Be still and know that I am God. And you're in peace then. You're in communication. You're happy in a way that doesn't have to do with earthly happiness, of trying to grasp that last moment of your 2-week vacation in Acapulco. Like, oh, I've only got 1 day left. I got to go really have some fun. No, this is permanent peace and happiness that comes from you're above the perceptual reality we seem to be trapped in a world of sickness and death. And our communication here and our purpose here in Namaste Village, like, I'm so grateful for that. We're communicating at that higher level. Although sometimes we seem to be talking about who's going to make dinner tonight or whatever it is, it's still about there's something else happening, isn't there, on an invisible level. And it's truly beautiful and wonderful. And it's hard to express my gratitude to find this. And it's just like, it's so nostalgic for me. For like 10 to 20 years ago, We had a community in Wisconsin like this, and it's so amazing to have that you can get a reflection back of truth rather than, oh, I just bought this last week, I'm going on vacation next week. And that kind of discussion of what are you going to do with your earthly pastimes? Like, this is the greatest. There's nothing like it. And I'm sure that each of you in the Zoom community has that same opportunity of forming those relationships, of getting a true reflection. That's not just getting into the form of a spiritual community. It can be looser than that or different. And every one of us has a unique way to express that ability to fall into it, that new communication. When your car gets totaled, it's not just where's my new car coming from, but oh, this could be a radical change in my life. And this is exciting. What's next? Rather than what a disaster. But oh man, this is great. And yeah, it's a different way to communicate. Yes. And Jerry?
Something just popped in that reminds me of that story about the farmer. The barn burned down, now I can see the moon. Right.
Yes, Jerry can see the moon now that the barn is burned down. Yeah, it's every little sign is a sign from God. That's the difference. That's all enlightenment is. We're listening again. And what do we listen for? That, like, we might be directed to do a miracle, but the whole thing is it's already been accomplished. The Holy Spirit does all the work. We just have to step back and let him lead the way, because it has all been accomplished. It's that simple. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening this morning, and we'll turn it back to James to wrap things up.
Wait, before you go, actually, I have something that I want to give to Darla.
Thank you.
I was unpacking stuff a few days ago, and I found this in a box, and I thought, well, this is supposed to go to someone, but I don't know who yet. So I just went and grabbed it. So that is for you, Darla. I got it. You got it. Did you?
Thank you.
No, someone gave it to me, but I don't remember who.
Thank you so much.
We talked, I think it was last week, about the Desert Fathers and the Abba Arsenius, who, when asked that question, what shall I do, was told three things. Number one, flee the world. How many of you feel like you have fled the world? We fled the world to Mexico. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, at least those of us who are here. Number two, be silent, be still, and pray always. It's so simple. We just let it be simple. So we'll join together in that. Flee the world doesn't mean that you have to be alone. It doesn't mean that you won't have brothers and sisters with you, supporting you the whole way. The Desert Fathers and the Desert Mothers came together. They were the early monastic and contemplative communities. That's how that tradition started. So you don't have to be alone, and it doesn't have to be bleak. It can be joyful and filled with energy and love and light, just like it is here. So we are blessed because we know this is true. We're not trying to be enlightened or trying to do anything. We're just allowing it to have already have happened. You are filled with light now. Deal with it. All right. Thank you, everyone. We are blessed. We'll just end it there. Actually, let me see. Yeah, we could do the prayer of protection. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Ooh.
Okay.
So let's prepare our hearts now for our final prayer. Pull it up here, make it go full screen, and away we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. Claim that. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. Claim that. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. Claim it. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Amen, 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 y punto. And so it is. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. We'll see you
Namaste.
tomorrow.